I think one of the most exciting things about alternative currencies is the experimentation and, like you said, the way we can rethink what money means to us, what we want it to do. For example, I've heard talk of a education coin, if you will, that would be mined into existence through learning. So students completing, say, online learning games, and that's what generates new currency. I mean, that's really interesting because you've got a social good, education, linked to, say, currency growth and earning, learn to earn. So these kinds of, ways in which you can experiment with the money supply and the growth of the money supply and money, I think, are really, really interesting, and one of the reasons certainly I'm very interested in alternative currencies. The main thing I would say is that I do think people are starting to think more about money in ways they never have, and I guess in some ways that is, kind of breaking through a taboo. It's just not something people ever questioned before or wondered about. I mean, I asked people, in all sorts of countries, in your high school, your secondary education, did they ever sit down and explain to you how money comes into existence? And I haven't found a single education system yet where that's discussed as part of the core curriculum. Yet money is so fundamental to everything we do in today's world. How can we not understand things like the fractional reserve banking system? How can we not understand things like, the difference between the money that banks produce versus, say, the money that governments mint? These kinds of things, which are somewhat difficult for, I think, people to kind of wrap their heads around. Money is this kind of mysterious thing. And one of the things that's really exciting to me as an educator is, the fact that Bitcoin is introducing people to kind of the behind the scenes, in The Wizard of Oz, we can now look behind the curtain and see, who's back there, making the machine work. And it really isn't as complicated as we're led to believe, and it's not as hard to wrap your head around it as I think people sometimes think. And, we're still trying to find the ways in which we can explain money and how the financial system works, how it could work. But it's really exciting to be a part of this kind of opening up, if you will, of money to a wider conversation. I think the myth, though, if you put aside who might be Satoshi or who these people might be, I think the myth has been incredibly important to Bitcoin. I think there's two things that have gotten the media's attention more than any other. One is the question of whether Bitcoin's a bubble, the big price spikes, and the second is who is Satoshi Nakamoto. And one of the interesting things about having a kind of mysterious founder is we, as people, can kind of project things onto this founder. Buddha and Jesus never wrote anything down. We don't have any pictures of these people. We're all free to imagine what they kind of look like and maybe how they sounded. That's quite powerful because our imaginations can wrap, things around these names like Satoshi, like Jesus, like Buddha. The other thing that's interesting about Satoshi is, I think especially in the early hacker community, there was this, are you Satoshi? It's kind of like, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I mean, we all could be Satoshi. Maybe I'm Satoshi, I'm not. But, it allows us to kind of like, play on these possibilities, I think, and that's, I think, something that can captivate people. So I think the person of Satoshi Nakamoto was not only a cryptocurrency and software developer genius, I think they were clearly a marketing genius as well by really seeing the possibilities, whether accidentally or intentionally, in basically having this mythical person really as founder, and then knowing when to disappear at the right time.